Welcome everybody to this hangout about what can we learn from the Pirate Party. And the reason we're holding this hangout now is in order to get some ideas and inspiration for those of us who are interested in the possibility of creating a transhumanist party in the UK and indeed in other parts of the world too. And the goal is that we know it's a difficult uphill task to create a political party, and we want to learn from other organisations who have done something similar in the recent past. And the Pirate Party has quite a few things in common with the Transhumanist Party. First of all, there are some policies in common, significant overlap in at least some of the things that interest us. But moreover, both organisations are aiming to take advantage of modern digital tools to somehow be more effective, to have a greater reach, more things going viral, greater involvement of democratic participation from a wide number of people, so that perhaps we can have a bigger bang for our digital buck. And today we have, as one of our panelists, Chris Monteiro, who we'll come to in a moment, who has been involved in the organisation of the Pirate Party in the UK for about 4.5 years or so. He'll tell us more in a minute. And the other people on this panel are myself and Darren Reynolds, each of whom are co-founders of the United Kingdom Transhumanist Party. So let's hand over to you, Chris, and we're very interested to hear about your experiences. We want to understand what's gone well for the Pirates and what hasn't gone so well. And we are aware that in some parts of the world, the Pirate Party has had significant electoral success, at least for a while, before coming victim perhaps to different problems of scale, problems of an immature infrastructure. So we would like to know how to get going, how to get started. We'd also like to know how we might flourish as we grow. And we're interested also in particular in the situation in the UK, where things are a bit different because we've got this first past the post system here, which means that you need rather a lot of votes before anybody from your party can be elected. So Chris, over to you.
Sure. Okay. A number of things to get through. I joined the Pirate Party. Believe it or not, I wasn't so into I want to run for MP. I want to support an election. I wanted to make I wanted to be a part of an organisation which made a political change, a new organisation which had some values I support, and to that extent, I've been successful. Pirate Party actually founded itself using the Liberal Democrats Constitution, and we based many of our processes around existing political party processes. This did not work fully for us, as you can imagine. Traditional political parties are geographic in nature. They come from your local ward, constituency, to make get some people in power, you form a parliament, you form a government, and so on and so forth. This doesn't work if you're running on a national platform and you don't have a huge amount of local issues to run on. I mean, our candidates who have run in many places with only small degrees of success have done so, and they've typically done so under the banner of being a protest vote. This is before UKIP started being the de facto protest vote, and obviously running on a strong local platform and just getting the bins sorted out, sorting out local public services, knocking on doors, and so on and so forth. So this part of the political process I call electioneering is difficult. It's very difficult in the UK. It's very difficult to get the traction to motivate people with geographic concentration and to win seats and get elected. And for some people, this is indicative of where it hasn't been a success in the UK. Compared to say Germany and Sweden, they have done much better, and they've got different electoral systems, and they've had a large degree of support. But nonetheless, in the UK, we are not a local political force, and we have not been successful in those respects. But that's fine. I accept that. There's a number of areas we have been successful, though. Running national campaigns, be it. So we are now consulted on to comment every time that anything to do with our core policies is touched on, be it mass surveillance or copyright. Our leaders and officials will be interviewed in mainstream broadsheet newspapers and media outlets. We will comment and we get our brand out there on a regular basis, and this we have been very effective in this platform, and we're going to continue in this space. which is interesting actually, because we're not the only people in this space. Before the Pirate Party came along, there was a voice, and still is a very strong voice for digital rights in the UK, called the Open Rights Group. Now, the Open Rights Group are very similar to us. They are not party political. They have a much larger base, much larger funding, and their core staff team has much more legal and political clout than us. But on the other hand, we're a political party. We can be less on the fence, less compromising, more let's do it like this. Yes, so it's been very interesting being a part of it. I'm going to talk a bit late. Should I talk about infrastructure for the party and how Transhumanist Party might copy our infrastructure?
Yes, why don't you do that? And you can maybe answer one of the questions which has already popped into the Q&A panel by Mark Clarkento. Does the Pirate Party have dedicated staff? Do you pay any of your staff, or is it all volunteers, people working on shoestrings?
Yes, I'll just that one. No, we don't. Most of our membership fees goes towards putting up deposits for elections. Politics in the UK is expensive. I believe it's £500 to run for MP. I mean, for example, in our previous chat, the idea of running for London Assembly was knocked about, but that's £10,000. That's very expensive, and you do get your deposit back if you get more than 5% of the vote, but that's easier said than done, and we've been there, done that. This is an issue, and our general guidelines is most of our budget is for deposits, and as a result, yes, we are entirely volunteer run as a consequence. So people running it in their spare time, such as myself. But yes, I mean that's the financial infrastructure itself. Yes, and if you get involved in politics, you'll find it's expensive, and if you have the money, you can win. If you don't have the money, it is difficult. Just to talk about what we have put together, though, which is more effective on our site. As in, we've modeled ourselves after Liberal Democrats in the sense that we modeled ourselves after a centralised hierarchical party with a centralised full-time bureaucracy, follow out to part-time staff and volunteers. That is to say, that's the Liberal Democrats model. But being entirely volunteer run, right away from the leadership through to officials, through to all the activists and supporters, it's difficult. Running a purely volunteer organisation is difficult, especially if you don't have much experience doing that. We've learned a number of things doing this, and as the trend, David, you can talk into after London Futurists as being a more formalised transhumanist movement, and H+ and so on and so forth. But there's a huge amount of general support around futurist technologies, transhumanism, and so on and so forth. But it's very difficult to harness the generalised support without a decent infrastructure in place. Infrastructures can be many things, and I broadly say decentralization is the way to go. Centralized web platform is a very good thing to have, but a single forum or a single Facebook group is not going to cut it. You need mailing lists. You need funnels for your volunteers. You need to convert your social media followers into people on mailing lists. You can convert people on the mailing lists into getting involved in projects, and you get to keep the projects active and happy. And all these things are quite, we've learned the hard way how not to do it, because otherwise people say, I'll do that, and they never do it. Volunteer organisations are difficult. But I'd be happy to lend all my suggestions in this area.
Well, what do you pick as the most useful mailing list and associated system? How do you use these digital tools to convert these people who stick their hands up and say yes, they will help, into actual groups of people doing real tasks in the real world?
Sure. Well, it's a multiple mailing list system where we run, which we're looking to add automation over the top of it now, actually, which I'm running the project for that, simply because it's the lowest common denominator. We don't want necessarily. You'll be surprised the number of people who say, I support the Pirate Party, but I don't want to join a political party. Or, I like the Pirate Party, but, you're that little one item in the manifesto, I don't support that, so I'm not going to join you. You're a political party. People don't like political parties. Political party membership is in long-term terminal decline. as all the stats back this up. However, people's interest in politics is all-time high. Therefore, the importance of harnessing supporters and activists, anyone with any time to support the party, without saying it's all about the party membership and exclusively about the members, is a very important resource to harness. For example, I'm not saying Zoltan hasn't had any success in terms of harnessing some support for transhumanists already. He has, certainly. And there's obviously support for Let's Have a Transhumanist Party UK and Europe. But the minute you say we're a party, first of all, if you're a member of another political party in the UK, you cannot join the Transhumanist Party. You will have the liability of being kicked out of your political party. Pirate Party has a clause which we say we won't do this, but that's irrelevant because every single major political party, for a medium-sized political party, will not allow you to be a member of more than one political party at a time. So again, this stresses the importance of harnessing supporters and activists who are willing to give their time to support your cause.
Great. And Darren, do you want to come in with any questions at this stage? And Darren, you've got your experience from another political party, which you may want to talk about.
Yeah, just briefly so that you've got my background. So I am a member of the Liberal Democrats. I've stood for election. Yes, I am yellow. Can you see? You can tell the whole screen thing is giving the game away. I've stood for election a couple of times to local authorities and been elected, and have chaired the local constituency party. I was the chair for the 2010 general election when our local party got its candidate elected as an MP for the first time since the 1940s, I think it was. So I've got a few questions for you. You mentioned that you ran on a national platform and so didn't have any local issues to campaign on. Now, I expect you probably have heard the phrase before, all politics is local, and certainly my experience of politics has been that if you want to get anybody to vote for you, you absolutely have to talk about local issues. How much of a problem was that for you in 2010, and are you going to do anything differently in 2015?
Sure. It was a problem. We spent a decent amount of our budget on fielding candidates. I believe it was 11 candidates we fielded, and they ran wildly differing effectiveness in terms of campaigns. Many people were very good, I would say, be it community building, door knocking, getting to know local issues, talking to local communities. Some people did not manage to get out and do a lot of work at all, but managed to get their name in the press at least, for example, which is all helpful. It wasn't a tremendous success, and as a consequence, we are running only 3 at the moment. I would like to be running more, but the three candidates we're running are certainly of average higher caliber than last time. But this certainly shows that running on strong local platforms are still not our strong point.
So have you considered running some kind of training event so that your candidates know how important local issues are and how to find out what the issues are and how to campaign on them?
Yes, currently, if within the Pirate Party, if you want to run a local platform, you work with certain central party resources, but then basically it falls to the individual to run their campaign. Now we are trying to add infrastructure essentially to allow it easier for local candidates to build their mailing lists, build their supporter bases, and so on and so forth. This is very crucial. Otherwise, they're left with very little. We have infrastructure to allow people to run their own website and run campaign, but ultimately, let's say one of my colleagues, Mark Chapman, is running for Vauxhall South. He's a lovely guy. I've met him a number of times. We've done some events together. I can't name more than a couple of local issues he's standing on, and this is a problem. And this is due to lack of local manpower. Personally, I'm involved in more central stuff, so I'm not spending so much time with him. But yes,
but he understands that he has to identify those local issues and he has to campaign on them.
Say again, sorry?
He understands, does he, that he needs to identify the local issues and to campaign on them, and that's understood.
Oh, absolutely.
You say... you've cut down the number of candidates then. Currently the plan is to stand 3, but you just said you're hoping to stand more. One of the things that the Liberal Democrats were always very good at is when there's a by-election, getting all the party members from all over the country all turning up in the same place over an intensive short burst of activity to get candidates elected, and that worked very well for them for well over a decade. Is it the case for you that you might be able to benefit from having fewer rather than more candidates?
No, absolutely. I mean, we've done that very thing in Manchester. So Loz-K, the leader, is based in Manchester, and he's run, I can't remember how many now, by-elections, and yes, people have gone up there. Manchester's a bit of a hole for me, I'll be honest. Some of my colleagues have gone up from London to Manchester. I'd be much more eager to do that around the London candidate, to be honest, but this is how things have turned out.
But what about your numbers of candidates in 2015, though? Because maybe if you have fewer candidates, you can focus your resources better.
Well, yes, I mean, we're looking to only stand 3 at the moment. So
yeah, it's just you said you'd like to be standing more, and I'm wondering whether...
Long term. I don't think this election...
Okay. Right, not in 2015. Fair enough, yeah, okay. What was the original motivation for choosing to stand candidates for election to Parliament?
Well,
what were you hoping to get out of it?
Sure. I mean, a lot of what we came up was copied. We copied the Liberal Democrats' constitution, and we copied the Swedish Pirate Party's model for standing candidates and for getting involved in politics like that. We did this. I mean, the goal is and always has been to hurt politicians at the ballot box, to make these issues not addressing these issues in electoral liability, and to fight politicians on their own turf. Unfortunately, we've not been tremendously successful in this particular sphere, but that is still one of our goals.
So the question I'd like to ask, Chris, is given that it's so difficult to get people elected into Parliament, given that many supporters don't actually want to join a party, why don't you do more work campaigning to get your policies adopted by other parties rather than trying to get your own voices inside Parliament? Right.
We don't do that because Open Rights Group does that very well. Open Rights Group have cross-party groups. I don't know, there's actually a Labour Friends of Open Rights Group. I'm pretty sure there's a Lib Dem Friends of Open Rights Group. OrgCon last month was very, very good. So, they had Julian Hebert and Claude Moraz, the Labour MEP, and Deputy Leader of the Greens, I forget her name, all politicians, particularly who are clued in on digital rights there, all saying how much they support the Open Rights Group's goal, and all of them saying, but don't listen to the rest of our parties because they don't know what they're talking about. Open Rights Group are very well connected and lobby very, very effectively like that. And they do so by saying, we're not a competitor, we're here to help. We're here to add knowledge and expertise and to help you get elected. Whereas Pirate Party candidates are nominally competitors, and this closes many doors for us.
So why don't you just put all your effort into supporting the Open Rights Group? Maybe that would be a more effective way forwards.
Well, we do work with the Open Rights Group, particularly around, for example, Open Rights Group are not much of an activist organisation. They have a small centralised core staff. They are becoming more of an activist organisation, which is great because there's much more overlap with what we do. They've done, I don't know if you're aware of block.org.uk, the project for tracking the new filtering on all the websites. I've been involved in that, and my colleagues work with similar such projects on that. And at the European level as well, we have stuff going on at the Pirate Party there. So yes, where org are an activist organisation, we have overlap, and I can see only more of that happening in the future, which is great. But what they have is where they use a central staff for legal work or lobbying. They do that just fine. They do that fine, mostly without the help of the Pirate Party. Without Pirate Party UK, that is. They obviously do get support at the European level.
So let me just have a word to the audience at this stage, because the audience who are watching via the Google Plus interface have the ability to chip into an app in there called Q&A. If you haven't found it yet, if you're watching in Google Plus, first of all, you've got to be signed into a Google Plus account, otherwise you can just see the questions that other people have posed. Once you've logged into your own account, you may first of all see something called the showcase down the right-hand side of your screen. The showcase is a number of links that are relevant to this event. For example, we put in a link there to Pirate Party UK, the Wikipedia page on that, and we put in a page to the UK's draft Transhumanist Party manifesto. If you want to get into the Q&A part as opposed to the showcase, then move your mouse towards the top of the screen. You'll see a little 3x3 grid of dots. That's Google's menu. Click on that and you'll be able to change from showcase into Q&A. And the various people have asked questions already. Andreas Kasparvicius, Mark Larkento, Alexander Karan. Others, I'm sure, who are watching may want to add their own questions, and what you should also consider doing is adding +1 votes to the questions that you think we should prioritize answering when we've got time. So I'm going to come actually to one of these questions, and I'll let you speak at some length, Chris, in reply. But the question there is from Mark Larkento again. Just to reiterate, what really was your primary objective in forming the Pirate Party? What did you think was the most important thing that the Pirate Party could accomplish by being formed?
Right. I mean, it was different things for different people in many respects. For many people, it was a chance to join a new political party, which could be a protest vote. For many people, particularly techies, it was a chance to get involved in a political party which knew its technology from the beginning, rather than as an afterthought. So it had a very progressive view on that. As intended, the actual national party formation obviously was formed off the back of the various European parties setting themselves up, achieving degrees of electoral success and media coverage, and the idea of that, you know, through going through the political system, we can make a difference. I would say, you know, again, I can say where we have been successful and where we haven't been there, but you know, these are the reasons which all pirate parties have been founded on the same basis of supporting this copyright reform and digital rights core platform.
And you've been pretty successful, as you noted, in Germany and Sweden. So what was the reasons for the success in these countries of the pirate parties there?
I haven't actually seen any properly empirical studies comparing and contrasting why. So I've only got my own theories to go on this. But one of my theories is that Sweden and Germany are see the actions of the copyright industry against their countries as rather more imperialist than we do. When obviously everything kicked this off in 2006 with the raid on the Pirate Bay, and basically were funded by the movie studios. And it's like, why American movie studios dictating to Swedish politicians, or dictating to Swedish police what laws to run? And this was tapped into something very strong in say Sweden. And that's not how things should be done. That's corporatism, and Sweden should be independent. It is a liberal society, so they did very well in that respect. As is still going on in Germany, I mean, I'm sure everyone's been following to an extent the continued Snowden revelations, with the latest thing published in Der Spiegel about the NSA's ability to crack various encryption methodologies, and Germany has been in the forefront of this and saying no, keeping massive databases of people is wrong, mass surveillance is wrong, and we need to draw a line under this and oppose this. And that's a very strong sentiment in Germany because of their history, of course. In something like the UK, however, we don't have those synergies there. We have a huge amount. We have the most CCTV per capita of the world in the UK. We have a much more romanticized view of spying and surveillance through James Bond and whatnot, and we have a very positive and supportive view, typically, of our Western blockbuster entertainment. The idea that movie industries are promoting British and American values, which are absolutely fine to spread around the world and shouldn't be imposed on anyone, because that's how things should be. And as a consequence, yes, it's not such a fertile ground for these policies. And of course, our first past the post political system, but I'm sure I could rant about bad political electoral systems all night. It's really very frustrating.
Darren, do you want to rant about bad political electoral systems, or do you have any other comments or questions that you haven't had a chance to ask yet?
I do. Well, the political system in this country, of course, is awful. But let's leave that for another time. Internationally, we mentioned the pirate parties in other countries. What's your relationship formally with those pirate parties in other countries? I mean, is there sort of an overarching European pirate party that tells you what to do? Are you all completely independent and just nice to each other? How does it work?
Sure. So there are two international bodies of note. One is PPI, Pirate Party International, and other is PPEU. Pirate Party International is a group which formed at the very beginning, and it helped a lot of countries form their small political parties, be it helping with resources, translation, and registration, and so on and so forth, and a point of coordination to say, hey, do we need a pirate party in Venezuela? Do we need a pirate party in New Zealand, and so on and so forth? And it serves as a platform for that, and continues to serve as a platform for that. It's since evolved into it has official participants, and which may be bound by resolutions, but it's not very popular. It has issues. PPEU was founded this year. One of my colleagues in the UK was one of the instrumental founders of that, and it's aiming to obviously align itself with European elections and the fact that pirates are coming from different systems under a single platform, and so about obviously harmonising European policy where relevant. I mean, there is a lot of European copyright legislation going through at the moment, and but no, they obviously work at the European level, but nationally we retain independence.
So is there any disciplinary process? I mean, if one of the national parties goes off the deep end doing really stupid things, how do you distance yourself?
I'm afraid to say this has actually happened. There was a situation in, I think it was Serbia, whereby when the leader of the Serbian Pirate Party was forced to resign because there's a resolution saying the Pirate Party supports this pro-gay rights march. And the board of Pirate Party Serbia said, no, we won't support this. But the leader did. The leader quit. He founded his own pirate party. Now, I believe there's still two pirate parties there. And but Pirate Party International can be a point of reference when working out what is official or not as unofficial, but it doesn't serve in any sort of executive or disciplinary capacity like that.
Let's move to some of the questions from the audience. I'm taking a question from Valdemar Ingdahl, who is from Sweden. He comments that the Swedish Pirate Party tried to expand its range of policy issues after its initial launch. Do you think it's better to stay sharp on a small number of issues, or is it necessary to be a serious party to have views on every political subject under the sun?
That's a difficult one. I would say a bit of both in the right quantities, so a bit of a cop-out. From the Pirate Party's point of view, we want to be the people who own certain issues. I mean, we own copyright, we own this area, this is fine. We have our oar quite well in mass surveillance and digital rights as well, as do Open Rights Group, and that's great as well. When it comes to other areas, we do have. I like to consider some strong areas. I mean, I'm a particularly fan of the fact that we apply evidence-based policy to everything, which is, we could say, is scientific based. But this applies a great many other areas, and we do have a surprisingly comprehensive manifesto covering everything from basic income to nuclear power. But whether these are strongest policies and whether they make us stronger for having them, in some cases, yes. By saying that we have a fairly comprehensive manifesto, and therefore you can vote for us, this is a useful thing, because otherwise it will be an objection. But on the other hand, it depends who you're talking to. Again, if you're on the doorstep and talking to people, you absolutely want to be selling up the fact that drug patent reform will help the NHS save lots of money and improve your healthcare. Absolutely, but at a national level, you want to be more focused. So it does depend. you know, you can be more effective by pitching your ideas depending on your audience.
Darren, maybe I can ask you the same question. Do you think the Transhumanist Party in the UK should have a rich and extensive manifesto, or is there 3 or 4 policies which everybody should be uniting around and focusing energy on?
It's a really, really difficult question to answer, I think, because there are 2 things pulling at the answer in opposite directions. One is that in order to get elected, I think you absolutely do need to have a comprehensive platform. Now, it's possible, of course, to plug the gaps in your policy portfolio by borrowing them from think tanks and pressure groups and what have you. But however you do it, I think if you're going to be successful in a general election, you need to have a complete set of policies. There are occasional exceptions to that. You know, you get the occasional independent getting elected to Parliament. It's very rare. I mean, independents nearly always lose. Over 99% of the time they lose. Just occasionally you'll get a success there, and obviously those individuals don't usually have a complete policy platform. But by and large, the only people who get elected to Parliament are those members of a political party that do have a comprehensive policy platform. And even sometimes the mainstream political parties find that they have gaps on issues. On the other hand, the problem for the Transhumanist Party, and I don't know to what extent this might be a problem for the Pirates as well, struggle to agree on very much. I mean, you know, we can agree on perhaps most of the core transhumanist manifesto, the stuff that is absolutely transhumanist in its nature. But once you get outside of that core, there's a very, very broad range of views across the domain, and I don't really know how you would get everybody to agree. You might find that you could only do it with multiple transhumanist parties, which of course then means you fail because you split the vote. And in the UK's political system, it's essential to be able to concentrate the vote so that you can get over that threshold.
Let's take a question for both. Okay, Chris, come in on that.
So I just wanted to comment on that. Absolutely, that's a problem. For people not aware, I work with Eamon and on the Wave think tank here, where we're trying to develop the concept called social futurism, the idea of creating a more comprehensive set of principles to underpin transhumanism. And yeah, it's still lots of work to do there, but yeah, I think it's very interesting.
I've got a question for both of you, which is raised by Andreas Kasper Orvixius. It's got the highest number of +1 votes, and it's a very good question. It relates to the fact that, you know, the Green Party, Pirate Party, and Transhumanists are all in various ways small parties. Some are very small and some are very, very small. Shouldn't we be considering some kind of coalition of change? As Andreas points out, it's hard to beat old school establishment quick enough alone, given that there are at least some similarities and more similarities than differences between the various parties. Is that something we should envision, or is it just a matter that we can learn from each other? Chris first and then Darren.
Sure. Is it me?
Yeah, right. You here?
Sure. For many years, I was of the opinion that the Green platform was way too anti-technology for me, anti-evidence, anti-science, and I mean, I'm sure many people still share that view today. However, I'm not sure if you're aware, but I always bring up this fact now, that Jim Killock, director of the Open Rights Group, is the former press secretary for the Green Party and is still involved in the Greens. And the Greens digital rights platform has basically been copied from the Pirate Party now, which is great. Green's digital rights platform is getting very mature, and they might even, who knows, they might even support nuclear energy in the future, and not be totally anti-growth and anti-cutting energy. I'm actually proposing shortly, it might be after this election, that Pirate Party make more formal links with the Greens. I believe it's for time. There's not much difference between us now. We still have our specialism. So yes, coalitions with the Greens, yeah, absolutely. And coalitions of transhumanists, absolutely. Though I'm sure we get all sorts of interesting discussions when you try and marry up transhumanists and Greens, but that's another discussion.
Darren.
Well, of course, there are lots of different things that the word coalition might mean. there are varying degrees of cooperation that we might be able to have with the smaller political parties. You know, like if we're choosing candidates, it will be helpful to choose a constituency where other small parties themselves don't have candidates. If we have gaps in our policy portfolio, or indeed if they have gaps in theirs, then we might be able to share policy on some issues and provide all of the evidence that supports that policy. So what absolutely I think is the case is we need to be having a dialogue. You know, we've got to be talking about our respective positions and what our intentions are, and discussing it with each other to see what the opportunities are.
But what about the fact that there's this exclusivity generally, that most political parties will throw you out if they find that you are in more than one party at the same time?
Well, of course, that is an issue for me, David, because I remain and intend to remain a member of the Liberal Democrats. At this moment in time, right now, it isn't an issue, of course, because we haven't formally registered the party. But that might become an issue, and when that happens, obviously I'm going to personally have some serious thinking to do about that. But as far as cooperating with other parties is concerned, I don't see why there should be any issue there for political party membership, because if you're a member of political party A and you want to cooperate with somebody in political party B, all it requires is to make sure that you have the proper authority from the appropriate organisation. So, you know, in the case of the Liberal Democrats, for example, a local constituency party is entirely at liberty to talk to another local party and make arrangements with them, and that's a matter for the members of that local party.
Chris, let's take this question from Alexander Karen, but by all means come back on some of the previous topics as well, if that's something you want to do. Alexander asks, what's your opinion on the current Transhumanist Party approach, that is standing candidates of our own, possibly a very small number in 2015, possibly a larger number later on. If there's a by-election that's of interest to us, we might do that. So doing that on the one hand, and also having an open think tank, roughly along the lines that you mentioned that Open Rights Group could do. Is there room for a small party to do both of these, or will it end up with conflicts of interest?
Initially, maybe not. Ultimately, there would be conflicts of interest. If you're standing, I mean, I had an interesting conversation with a Labour Party official at the Open Rights Group conference saying, guys, I wish I could support the Labour Party and be a part of your events, but I'm not allowed to. Can you do anything about this? And he's like, no, go away. Once you're at a competition, mainstream political parties do not like that, and you close doors. I do think the transhumanist movement as a whole should be pursuing both of these avenues. Definitely, there should definitely be a cross-party political activity, which is not maligned, and whether it can benefit from running a political party as well, absolutely. But I think these now have to be initiatives separate from one another. Maybe the same people are involved, maybe. But you know, you can't just make it nominally separate. You know, actually, if you want to be effective in both spheres, you need two organisations. I'm afraid.
Darren, are you able to give your view on this question as well? Or do you have any other questions you want to raise?
Yes, I will give an opinion on that. I absolutely do think that there is room to move in both of those spaces, although possibly not for the same people at the same time. I mean, I think in the case of the Pirate Party, you've got the pressure group at the same time that is very effective and is cooperating with the other political parties. But of course, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but you're not the same people, right? There's separate people.
Well, there are some people who are the same people, but the top people aren't the same people.
Yeah. So I think as long as that type of approach is taken, where there's a pressure group that's run by some people and there's a political party that's run by other people, then I don't see any reason why you can't do the two at the same time. My own view, actually, is that the pressure group is the more important of the two. because in the short term, that's the one that's going to create the greatest impact by influencing the members of other political parties. You can get your message out there via the media. You become known for that particular issue. Of course, you're not going to be fielding any candidates in any elections, but that's where the political party comes in. And I think to get any success in a general election for a new political party, you are looking at a 25-year project. You only have to look at what the Greens and UKIP have gone through to get to the stage that they're at, where UKIP have just won 2 by-elections. How long has that taken? And the amount of money and effort that's gone into that, that's the sort of thing that you're looking at. We're not going to get overnight success and suddenly have 24 MPs in Parliament. And I think that the numbers that we've seen earlier from the Pirate Party show that it is a big challenge trying to make any progress with general elections. So I do think, that in the short term, at least, well, probably for the long term too, that having 2 separate organisations is going to be beneficial. One that's putting the pressure on the pressure group, the think tank, and the other being the political party.
On this topic of the 25-year course in order to make an impact in politics, doesn't the Pirate Party refute that? Because in some parts of the world it's been successful in more like 25 months.
Well, just before on that point, of course, the political system in the UK is very different to the political system in the countries where the Pirate Party's had some success. So when I say it's going to take 25 years, I mean in the UK.
Should we all go and work in support of campaigns in some other country abroad? I mean, maybe Finland's more likely to be successful with the Transhumanist Party. Maybe when they're having their Finnish elections, we should all go out there for a few weeks and we'll speak our best Finnish. I'm just brainstorming here.
Well, who knows? I guess that's a decision for individuals at the time, isn't it?
Right. Question on names. And Julian Snape asked a question about the Pirate Party, and it might be quite successful with a name like that in Sweden, but is it a problem for you in the UK, given the small c conservative nature? And maybe at the same time we can ask the question whether the Transhumanist Party has no hope of having such a name as Transhumanists.
Yeah.
Sure. It's a problem. It's been a problem from day one, and we're not changing it. We're not changing it because it's the international brand. It's the brand associated with success and the brand associated with policies people know. Thing is, pirate. These are terms in second language in Sweden and Germany, and that brand works well. Over here, it's a bit silly. It's not great. I mean, for example, I've suggested that in our branding, I tend to use PP UK more than Pirate Party UK myself. I think it's more effective, but that's the most. We can really work the brand, and we do this for the international audience and for for national recognition. If we were just a national party, we'd probably be more like .com's The Internet Party, something like that.
Chris, can I just ask you a question about that? So if the Transhumanist Party, well, I've sort of already given it a name in asking the question there, really, but if we were trying to choose a name right now, how important do you think that choice is? I mean, is it like a major impact? Does it define you, or is it it's just a name?
For a political party, it matters. For a think tank doesn't matter so much. A think tank should be known for its ideas rather than its branding. What did I make a note of? I mean, so we've had a lot of. I mean, I'm audience here probably do know the term techno-progressivism, which is a complete mouthful to get out there, but it is an established term which encompasses a great deal, many of political progressive ideals under the futurist and transhumanist banner. I was exceptionally pleased when I think it was Eamon's research decided, right, we're not used to talking about techno-progressives anymore because it's too bloody complicated. We're going to talk about social futurism instead. And as far as I'm concerned, that's for one. The think tank can be one thing, but it doesn't have to be the social futurist party. But what should be advocated should be social futurism. I'm pretty sold on that one personally.
Do you think, Darren, the name social futurist would work, or would people just say that sounds like socialism to me? I'm not having it.
I think that is a little bit narrow, but then of course the Transhumanist Party is probably more narrow still. I mean, it's occurred to me to wonder about a range of other possible names. the Science Party, the Techno-Progressive Party. I don't know. You know, you'd have to throw it out there and see what names people came up with.
Andreas has posed a few names I see in the questions as well. He says, why don't we call ourselves the Bright Future Party, or H+, or Futurist, just a simple Futurist Party?
Yeah,
but, you know, there is the international angle too. Just as the Pirate Party in the UK is leveraging off the strength of the Pirate Party's international branding, there is already a transhumanist party in the US which has got at least some media attention, and there are merits in some alignment there.
Yeah, well, this is a really important point. I think the Transhumanist Party, to use that name, it is a very remarkable name. It's an aggressive name. It's out there to get attention. It's out on a limb, and so it's going to get noticed. There will be media coverage of it, but I'm not convinced it would be taken as seriously as something that was less out there. And so if you are looking for the long burn, I do wonder whether something less out there, less aggressive, but nevertheless easy to understand. I mean, that's crucial. People have got to be able to understand what the party's about just from the name. Like Science Party, for example, that's pretty obvious what you stand for. For the long term, maybe something less aggressive might have better results because people would take it more seriously. I think there's this balance between getting attention on the one hand. I mean, a circus clown gets attention, right? But you're not going to elect him to Parliament, or at least I don't think so.
Farage.
Yeah, well, quite, yeah. Well, we'll see how he does. So there are those two tensions, and I'm not sure for the long term, if the point of the party is to get people elected to Parliament, I'm not sure whether being the circus clown is necessarily the best answer. If the point is to get attention and publicity, then it certainly is.
Well, that comes back to the key question. What are we really trying to do? Are we trying as a priority to get candidates into Parliament who will say, I'm a transhumanist? Or are we more interested in getting the policies adopted? So we have policies, for example. In fact, let me see if I can run up very briefly here a list of possible policies. I should have them queued up.
While you're just looking for that, David, let me just say that if there are two organisations, if there is a pressure group and a political party, then surely it's the objective of the pressure group to try and get those policies adopted by other political parties and to try and get the message out there with the general public. And it's the objective of the political party to get candidates elected, isn't it? What do you think of that, Chris?
No, that's exactly my view, and that's why I support an organisation, two organisations to do this. I mean, there is a third part. Just speculating now here. There is always the possibility of founding this think tank pressure group and saying in association with the Transhumanist Party International or something like that, make a big deal of the association for now, without actually going down the route of standing candidates. So to try and leverage the current media coverage of that in the short term. I mean, that could work. I mean, I'm into speculation here.
Okay, we're coming to the end of the hour that we had allocated for this discussion. I'm going to give you a chance to make a couple of other statements and give some of your closing remarks. By all means, dip into the questions that are unanswered. But what I'd like to do first is just briefly run through the headline points on the draft Transhumanist Party manifesto, just in case somebody has stumbled on this hangout or this YouTube video. They've changed channel from Britain's Got Talent and the X Factor, and by serendipity they've landed in this video conference. What are we transhumanists trying to accomplish? And we have got a draft of possibly 8 policy areas. Say that we should be running moonshot projects to take full advantage of accelerating technology. We should be aspiring to economic and personal liberation via the longevity dividend from regenerative medicine. That's anti-aging, healthy anti-aging. We believe in the necessity of an inclusive new social contract in the light of technological disruption. That includes people being made unemployed because of automation. We believe that the regulatory system needs to be modernized. So we talk about a proactionary regulatory system to fast-track innovative breakthroughs. We believe in reforming the democratic processes with new digital tools. That education should be transformed in readiness for a radically different future. There should be a new rights agenda for the coming transhumanist age that covers both human rights and rights for non-human persons. And we believe in an affirmative new perspective on existential risks, which include both the well-known, established, traditional existential risks, such as nuclear weapons and the risks of climate change, but also the new existential risks of new technology. As people can see, this is actually a shared document that anybody who wishes can get involved in commenting. There are a couple of different cursors on that screen as we speak. So that's what the Transhumanist Party is thinking of doing. That's not a published document yet, although we're showing it to people. There's a lot of thought to go into to drill down into exactly what are the key notions. But that's why we're forming this party or a pressure group, party and or a pressure group, in order to try and make politicians take these points on board and to get them adopted. So that's my sort of closing remarks, but I'd like to give each of you a couple of chances to add in the points that you haven't had a chance to make yet. So Chris, let's turn to you.
Sure. Well, at this point, I would argue that it's a little bit late to set up a infrastructure, get registered, stand candidates, run an effective campaign, get media coverage in time for the 2015 election. I mean, my personal view is don't do it. I don't think it's worth it. However, I certainly think it is worth harnessing the coverage that Zoltan's got with the Transhumanist Party US, and perhaps founding this pressure group before then and endorsing a candidate who wants to run on a joint ticket, or with reference to the Transhumanist Party if one can be found. That is how I think things should go. Though maybe if people are very, very keen to go down the whole political party route, but it's difficult.
So, if in terms of a candidate from another party that we could support, so if there was somebody from Greens, Liberal Democrats, Labour, Conservative, whoever, who actually personally believed in
but I'll
things
give you an example. If you could get a meeting or a call with Julian Hubbard, the Lib Dem MP for Cambridge, scientist, digital rights guy, evidence-based policy. He's one of my top Lib Dem fan guys out there. If someone showed him a decent paper saying this is something you can endorse, and he made comments about it, that would be great. That's the sort of person I have in mind. I mean, he's a great MP. He's a great guy, though.
Darren, what are the questions and the comments that you haven't had a chance to raise yet?
Well, Chris, just a couple of closing questions from me. You've mentioned there the possibility of supporting a candidate who's standing for one of the other political parties. If the situation arose for the Pirate Party that you had, let's say, a Labour Party member who was very sympathetic to what the Pirate Party is about, and you were comfortable working with that Labour Party member, you understood each other. Yeah. Would you, in a general election, let's say some guy turns up over the course of the next couple of weeks, would you be more inclined to put your effort into supporting a candidate standing under the Labour flag who is quite, clearly supportive of what you're trying to do and absolutely in agreement with your platform? Or would you be more inclined to support your own candidates? And I ask the question because, of course, the Labour Party guy is more likely to get elected. So where would you send your resources?
This has happened in 2010. This happened a couple of places whereby there were candidates standing on the Strong Digital Rights platform, and in this case, as we moved it, we deliberately went into non-compete, and we said, "Hey, your guys are good. We don't want to compete with you. Carry on." and I believe we made some correspondence about the matter for the benefit of both of us. So absolutely, I would argue our infrastructure does need to be improved to allow people from other political parties and other alignments to get involved without having to feel they have to drop all other alignments and throw the entire lot into us. And for this area, I'm running a project called about becoming a Pirate Party supporter. So you don't have to be a member, but you can be, but supporters will also be able to more easily get involved. And this is designed to blur the edges a bit and make it easier for this sort of thing.
Yeah,
Can
the
you say a
mainstream
bit more about that
do
project?
too, of course.
We spoke across each other. My question is, could you say a bit more about that? Because that sounds like an interesting line.
Sure. I mean, it's my project I've been running. Last year there was a talk by Jamie Bartlett of Demos, the former Labour-affiliated think tank, and he did a lot of research into declining political party participation and saying why people don't want to join political parties anymore, and just how this. He examined a few exceptions to this, like Cinque Stelle in Italy, and Pirate Party. He was his case studies about this and why they've been effective in bucking these trends. But one of the things I took away from that is political parties literally don't want you to compete. They're very monopolistic over your attention and your allegiances, and I see this as a real problem in British politics. And despite that, people don't want to be a member. Hence, the creation of the supporter function is designed to allow anyone who supports us to say, support us now, join a mailing list, give us some money, share resources, and don't feel you're now having to support our 10,000-word manifesto or however long it is and defend every element of things to death, because that's how people perceive political party allegiances. And I would like all political parties to make this shift. I'm hoping this is a success. If we get this in place before any time before 2000 and before next election, I hope we're going to be shouting about this as part of our campaign. It's not yet implemented yet, but I think this is where UK politics needs to go anyhow.
I would agree with that, but I think actually the mainstream political parties might be a bit further ahead than you realise. Certainly, for as long as I've been involved with the Liberal Democrats, we've run that on an informal basis where we have a list of all of our known supporters who are prepared to do things for us occasionally, like deliver leaflets or stuff envelopes or make phone calls, and they're not necessarily party members. Chris, I have one last question for you, if I may. Since the Pirate Party was established in the UK, what would you say is your biggest achievement?
Biggest achievement. I think I think politicians are more willing to have a discussion about copyright now. It's not just a case of they at least understand that their move towards internet censorship will be imposed on pretty much every front now, and they can't just get away with things quietly. It's a small achievement, but nonetheless, I think the Pirate Party's been instrumental in this and keeping it relevant that censorship infrastructure is being rolled out and surveillance infrastructure is being repurposed and so on and so forth. And I think that's the big one.
You've kept that in the public eye, and that's a good job. And thank you for doing that.
Yes.
I guess the question for us, Darren, is what would we like to be measured by in a year's time? If we don't think it's likely that we'll have a member of the Transhumanist Party in the House of Parliament by that stage, what would we like to have as our targets? Maybe that's a topic for another discussion.
Indeed, that would be an interesting discussion, yeah.
In the interest of following the principle of direct democracy, I ought to feed in one last question here, which is clearly at the top of the unanswered questions. It's by Valdemar Ingdahl. I think it just summarises quite a lot of what we've been discussing already. Valdemar talks about the iron triangle between the Pirate Party, Pirate Bay, and Pirate Bureau. And there's three different edges of that triangle. There's a policy, there's politics, and there's activism. What are the lessons from that which might apply to transhumanists? Is there anything else that we should draw out of that in our final comments? Bruce?
I think that's a little bit off in some respects. I don't believe the Pirate Bureau is active anymore. I believe they were founded and basically turned into the Pirate Party. I don't believe they do anything. They're not an active policy think tank anymore. I don't believe they. That's right. It's 2010 they disbanded, so they're not around anymore. But the corresponding part of that is the Open Rights Group, the Electronic Freedom Frontier Foundation, and these are established groups that are still doing great work. Whether the Pirate Bay is an activist organisation is up for debate, especially as it's technically dead now. I'm sure people are aware it might be back, but we don't know. They certainly provided a focal point for people to actively, you could argue perform civil disobedience, but I would still argue that most people who do this don't do so mindfully that there is a political party to support their actions, and people do it still download it in a very in a selfish or not seeing the bigger picture way. But things in the news help. These work. And the Pirate Bay, notorious as it may be, has continually generated press attention, which has continually generated comment from the pirate parties around the world, and has been useful. But I think, well, who knows if it's going to continue? I don't know.
I think there could be something similar for the Transhumanist Party. There could be some initiative, whether it's biohacking, or whether it's something to do with cryptocurrencies or use of the blockchain technology, or one of maybe 20 other ideas which are floating around in discussion. There could be something that could be, let's call it the killer app for making people interested in transhumanist policy actions, and I think we're going to be spending time over the next few weeks looking at what some of these might be. So there won't be a transhumanist bay, but there might be something similar that is in the not directly a political field, but it gets people suddenly very interested in transhumanism, and then it might lead people to look up our policies and look up what our representatives are campaigning for. But let's see whether that works out. One suggestion that's just dropped in as to what we might aspire to is by Valdemar, which says that, well, if we can't get somebody into the House of Commons, we might hope to get somebody into the House of Lords. Although we have a draft policy that says we're going to replace the House of Lords with the House of AIs. That's only half a joke, I think. So thanks very much to both of you for this discussion. It's a lot of food for thought, and we are going to continue the discussion online through numerous digital media, and we're going to figure out how we can have some of the fast speed of success of the Pirate Party applying hopefully to the broader movement for adopting technology more disruptively and more positively for the benefit of humanity. So thanks to both of you for this discussion.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you, David.
Signing off now.